Sometimes you may need to work on an audio recording which has not been recorded to a click track. Problems can arise when this song doesn't conform to a tempo map. For example, MIDI parts or tempo-based effects will not synchronize because the audio doesn't recognize the current tempo grid. In this situation, it will be necessary to create a tempo map based on the varying tempo of the project. If time signature changes are included, this will provide an extra challenge. This tutorial will provide you with the necessary information to facilitate tempo and time signature mapping with Samplitude Pro X. Samplitude Pro X uses two tempo mapping modes, Tempo Map BPM mode and Tempo Map Grid Fit mode. These modes can be accessed from the Edit menu under Tempo. Initially I'm going to use Tempo Map Grid Fit mode, so I suggest you create a keyboard shortcut for inserting tempo grid markers. Type in key in the search box, then click on the Edit Keyboard Shortcuts and Menu entry. You can assign the related shortcuts from the Edit, Tempo section of this window. I've assigned / to insert grid markers, Alt +/ to insert BPM markers, and Control +/ to open the Tempo Map dialog. At this point I'm going to introduce you to a new feature of Samplitude Pro X, which is the Tempo track. The Tempo track can be enabled from the menu item Automation, Tempo. It can also be enabled by opening the Automation Effect menu. When enabled, a blue tempo curve will be overlaid on the active track. If you prefer to use an empty track, select or add the track and enable tempo once more. The tempo curve will switch to this track. This gives you the flexibility to display the tempo track anywhere you choose, although only one tempo track can be displayed per project. The next step is to open a project or import some audio which has been recorded without the aid of a click. In my case, I'm going to use some drums. I'm selecting all the objects and pressing Ctrl+G to group them. There are also icons in the toolbar for grouping and ungrouping objects. To begin with, I need to ascertain the downbeat of the first bar. The kick drum hits on the first downbeat, so I'm positioning the play cursor where the first kick drum begins. Then I'm pressing T to split the objects, and then deleting all the objects to the left of the split. It's a good idea to leave some free space before the start. This space is useful if the drum part includes a pickup fill, for example, although where you position the first downbeat on the timeline may vary depending on your particular workflow preferences. In this tutorial I'm going to position the downbeat at bar 5. This gives me 4 bars extra space at the front in case I need it later on. Make sure snap is enabled and set to full bar. Turn on Grid Fit mode from the menu item Edit, Tempo, Tempo Map Grid Fit mode. If you've assigned a hotkey to the Tempo Map dialog, open the dialog and click on the Grid Mode button at the bottom. If I start playback with the metronome enabled, you can hear that the drums and the click are out of sync. So I'm going to use tempo mapping to remedy this problem. Position the play cursor at the downbeat and use your newly assigned keyboard shortcut to insert the first marker. A green grid fit marker has been inserted labelled 5:1. This stands for bar 5 beat 1. This drum part uses multiple time signatures beginning in 5/4. As the project is using the default 4/4 time signature, I will need to change the signature before I proceed. Double-clicking on the green marker opens the Tempo Map window. Now type in the new value in the signature text box and click OK. The marker has been updated to display 5154. The transport has updated as well. I'm now ready to start mapping that section to a tempo grid. This process can be done in real time. You will need to judge where the downbeat occurs for each bar for the duration of that passage. Start playback and aim to insert a marker at every bar by tapping along with the tempo using the Insert Grid Position Marker shortcut. As I insert them, the markers will snap to the 1 bar grid setting. The 5/4 section lasts for a total of 4 bars. Therefore, I will use a total of 5 markers. As each marker is inserted, a corresponding node will be added to the tempo track curve, and the tempo will be adjusted accordingly along the grid. Of course, inserting the markers using this method will depend on your timing when tapping them in. So I'm going to zoom in to check if the markers need adjusting manually. To adjust a tempo marker, place the mouse cursor over the marker until it turns into a double-headed arrow. Then left-click and drag left or right to adjust. You'll notice as I drag the marker, the grid expands or contracts depending on which way I'm moving it. Adjusting the markers allows me to improve on the accuracy. Now when I play back that section, it's in sync with the click. The next section is just 1 bar of 9/4, so I need to adjust the time signature again. Double-click on the last marker to open the tempo and signature window. Then enter the new signature and click OK. Either tap in the marker or insert manually and then adjust for accuracy. Take note you can double-click between the markers to enable a range. After that 1 bar section of 9/4, it returns back to 5/4. So double-click on the marker again and change the signature back to 5/4. This section is just 3 bars long, so I'm going to quickly tap in the markers and adjust one more time. Right-clicking on a marker opens the marker list, so I can use this list to quickly navigate between hits. The other option is to use the marker manager. So here's that tempo mapped section along with the metronome. If you decide you want even tighter timings between the click and the audio, change the grid to beat. Position the play cursor at the beat grid nearest the hit. Then insert the extra grid marker using the shortcut and drag to adjust. In fact, there's nothing to stop you tapping in markers at every beat rather than every bar, although this may only be necessary if the timing of the source material is particularly fluctuating. So adding the odd beat marker just when needed should suffice. But remember to switch back to bar when you're finished. So when it comes to mapping the tempo using signature changes, the following rule applies. First insert the initial grid marker and then set the time signature before tapping in your tempo markers. Of course, if the piece of audio you're working on is purely in one time signature, begin by inserting the first marker and then tap your way through the entire song using a hotkey. Then adjust the markers for accuracy.